Hello everyone. Well, last time I played, we tried going into the Temple of Arawn. I explained how the dungeon worked, and I made it to the final floor and couldn't quite get through it. So I had to retreat, come back to town, and get more stuff. But the good news is I can get down to the final floor with little difficulty. The bad news is the worst is yet to come, because that final floor is a bit of a tricky one. It's a pretty big floor, and there are a ton of switches blocking your path. So it may take me quite a while to actually complete this part. Which is why I'm trying to conserve as much magic as humanly possible. Thankfully, getting through the dungeon this time around is going to be a little easier. Because, as I'm going to demonstrate soon... wow. I don't know how this final recording is going to be, but looking at it on Camtasia, it's pretty jarring. That might only be because I'm running my media recorder, though, because when Camtasia and my sound recorder is going, it may cause the video to lag a little. And as I haven't demonstrated yet, Taunt is my fastest member, which is awesome, because that extra speed will come in quite handy. However, the speed he has, I don't think will stay that way very often. See, he has 22 speed, which is more than any of my other members have, currently. However, since Taunt doesn't get hardly any speed from his levels, for the most part anyway, that's mostly what he's going to have for like the rest of the game. So yeah, that kind of sucks. Aside from that, this pathway through the dungeon is going to be almost identical to the last video. With one minor exception, it takes me a little longer to get to the bottom. Because one of the solutions in one of the floors I actually forgot. So I end up going in circles for a little bit on, I think, the 5th floor. But it's not that big of a deal. I'm also a higher level now, so beating some of these enemies is going to be almost effortless. Also, I moved Taunt to the front. No real particular reason for me doing that, except since he's going first, it would be nice if his damage was optimized. And I just got a War Amulet. Go me. I actually found out later that those War Amulets actually sell for a pretty penny. So they're actually pretty good. Also, because of Taunt being so fast, summoners aren't exactly as threatening as they used to be. Case in point, Taunt just killed one by himself. Unfortunately, they can still be a nuisance with their fire spells. It's not that big of a deal, though. I have some interesting news to talk about. Around the time I'm actually doing the commentary for this, E3 has just ended, or at least the presentations have ended. So I know about what happened during the Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo conferences. And, well, I have to be honest here. 2 of the 3 conferences were just crap. Well, I shouldn't say crap, but 2 of them were very impressive, I'll say that. The Microsoft one was lame as usual. They didn't really do anything at this year's E3 that I found particularly impressive. Not surprising, since I'm not really an Xbox fan, but even looking at it from a general point of view, the games just didn't scale up. I mean, they showed a couple of good ones, I guess, like Assassin's Creed, if they were showing the new Halo game. They showed some sort of Angry Birds-esque game that looked kind of neat. But, aside from that, it was pretty forgetful. Next up came Sony's, and this was probably the best one of this year, because they showed a lot of games that were just very impressive. I liked just about everything they showed, even if I'm not a fan of said game. I was just impressed, period. While I'm at it, I may as well talk about Ubisoft's conference too, even though it's not one of the major video game companies, or video game corporations, should I say. But there are a couple games they showed that was just impressive. There was one game that they showed that had kind of a Matrix-like storyline to it, but it looked really interesting. It's hard for me to really define what I liked about it, but let me just say that a lot of people started clapping when that game was done being shown. I don't really remember what else Ubisoft showed, but it was a pretty good showing. Sony's was particularly good, but again, like Ubisoft's, I can't remember really what all they showed. That's my bad memory hitting, but just take my word for it. If you haven't seen the Sony conference already, then go find a place that has it pre-recorded, because you would get a lot of enjoyment out of that. The Nintendo one, as much as I hate to admit it, was pretty lousy. They showed a couple of games I liked, like 2 new Mario games, the much-awaited new Paper Mario game, that, oddly enough, is using the stickers from Smash Bros. Brawl. Huh. That's fairly interesting. Can't wait to see what they do with that. They also showed Luigi's Mansion 2, which got a huge applause from everyone in the crowd. There was also another game starring Luigi, but I can't remember what that one was. They didn't show anything that's Zelda related, but since they've just recently released Skyward Sword, I guess I should have expected that. I can't remember who showed it off, but there was also a new Castlevania game. 2, actually. They're both sequels to Castlevania Lords of Shadow, which I have my own qualms about. Lords of Shadow wasn't exactly a blockbuster hit, you know. So, that is a quite questionable decision. But the 2D one, that I can't remember, I think it's Mirror of Fate or something. It actually looks pretty good. It's following a traditional 2D style, pretty close to Order of Ecclesia, at least from what I can tell, and it looks pretty nice. Also, one of the games is following a new Belmont, which is odd since I thought Lord of Shadow was ignoring the plotline for the games, but whatever. Maybe they're trying to return to the loyal fan base with this one, I don't know. But aside from that, I didn't see much all that I really liked at the Nintendo conference. Though they did show something towards the end, something called Nintendo Land. And yes, I know what you're thinking, but no. Much to our disappointment, is not a new theme park. It would have been cool if it was a theme park. Probably would have been the most popular thing since sliced bread. But no such luck. Instead, from what I can tell, it looks like a Nintendo game that is essentially a group of mini-games from their different series. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it could have been much more. And a lot of people are actually disappointed by that. Because when you see something called Nintendo Land, your expectations are much greater than that. People were actually hoping a lot to see a new Mario Party with online capabilities this year. I saw a lot of people on Facebook actually mad over the fact that we didn't see anything like that. As a matter of fact, they were annoyed overall that Nintendo really wasn't doing any major projects this year. Because they usually show at least one game that is really freaking awesome. Unless we're talking about the very, very annoying 2008 E3 that they did. Ugh, I don't even want to remember that one. That one was just totally forgettable. But other than that, that's pretty much my news on E3. It's not anything too special or anything, but I just thought I'd talk about it. Well, we're 11 minutes in, and I am still not even halfway through this area. God blame it, they made this place too long. I know I may talk like this place is harder than it looks, but trust me, by the time we're done with this video, you'll know what I'm talking about with this place, because it is just terrible. Todd is a killing machine. Dadgum. I mean, I knew he was somewhat strong in the front, but I didn't think he was that good. Oh, pardon me. Man. It's terrible. Yeah, my allergies are acting up again, which is really annoying to me, because I was on allergy shots for like a couple years or more, so you'd think they'd be gone by now, but sorry about this. Normally after something like this, I'd probably restart and do the commentary another day, but it's currently the 7th, and I'm already behind schedule. Because I usually, once I do the commentary, I usually have to take a couple days after that to even get it pre-rendered so that I can even upload it. And even that can take a little while, so this probably won't go up until the 9th. I'll try to get it up earlier than that, but no promises there. I hate this dungeon so much. I kid you not, this is probably my most hated dungeon in the game. There's like 1 or 2 other dungeons that gives me trouble, but this dungeon, man, ugh, hate this place. I don't think I could say that enough. I mean, I don't necessarily blame the creative team for this, because I honestly think they were trying to do a good thing. Trying to create a dungeon with fun puzzle physics that, in theory, could have been done really well. It's just that in the long term, it wasn't that good. It actually turned out to be just an annoying ride from start to finish. It probably doesn't help that I'm pretty sure that when this dungeon was made, I can't prove it, but I'm almost guaranteed that they made it with Mage Potion Abusing in mind. Because I'm pretty sure they didn't expect you to go through this dungeon with a lot of physical attacks, considering what kind of groups show up. Plus, as you'll see later on in the game, enemies start to become really resilient to physicals. Especially once we actually make our way back to Zelenoon after the curse is lifted. That's when that really starts showing. And at that point, magic becomes a whole lot more useful. Am I there already? No. I don't think this is the bad area. Man, my sniffling is bad. I may have to be silent for a few minutes just so I can get this stuff out my nose. Because I can't talk properly. This is the worst time for this to happen too. I'm serious when I say that this video is late. I apologize. This is actually why I used to try to get my videos out within like 2 or 3 days, just in case something like this happened. So I would have a few days on hand that I could prepare for it. But because of how long these videos take to produce now, I don't have that kind of time. So as a result of that, I tend to feel rushed now when something like this happens. By the way, if you're wondering why sometimes my HP will show up top and sometimes it doesn't, when I use the summon skill, I will sometimes hold down start to get rid of the VP and LP meters so that you can see the summon properly. Because the VP and LP take up a lot of room up there, and it covers most of the summon animation. It's not a huge issue, but I just find that it gets in the way most of the time. Oh yes, this is the floor where I get a little confused. So try not to blame me, people. When I was playing this, I was like half playing and half daydreaming and whatnot, because I really hate going through this dungeon. So I was thinking about random things at the time. This is what I mean when I talk about magic abuse. 4 summoners in a single battle. Really? That's pretty mean-spirited right there. Though I am surprised that I managed to kill them all before they all got out there. I also demonstrated the Thunder spell. It's essentially not much stronger than Fire. When you saw it doing 23 damage, I'm pretty sure that was high up on the damage scale. It usually only does 16 damage. So there's that to consider. Let's see. What else to really talk about? Not much. Aside from E3, I haven't really done anything lately. I did download the ROM for Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon for the Nintendo DS, and I tried playing that, but like I told my friends, playing a Fire Emblem game without having access to save states is a pretty rough ride, and this game especially is showing just how much of a jerk it can be, because I am still in the very beginning of the game, and I cannot keep my people from getting killed off. There's always something that I end up doing wrong, and it is just so frustrating right now. I almost don't even care about keeping my party members alive. I think if it happens one more time, I'm just going to keep them that way, because it is just getting to the point where I'm just losing it. It probably doesn't help that this is one of those Fire Emblem games that the enemies, a good majority of them, try to rush you all at once, and when that many enemies are coming at you, you usually have to use all of your units in order to do a lot of damage really quickly. And by doing so, that leaves a lot of your weaker units pretty open to damage. I can usually survive the first couple of waves, but I also want to give my weaker units some good experience. And this is usually when problems end up starting. Because if I move my units even somewhere close to the enemy, then on the very next turn they tend to all gang up on the weak unit. If not killing it, bringing it close to death. And it gets a little aggravating. I am trying to get a hold of a 3DS, Nintendo 3DS, because I believe my problems of getting online will be solved when I get that thing. I can't prove it. And I don't know for sure if it'll work, but we'll see. At the very least, I'll be able to get games that I really like for it. One thing I kind of hate about this dungeon is, if you haven't noticed, a lot of the dungeon solutions kind of require you to take the long way around. So if it turns out you've actually done the solution wrong, then you have to walk all the way back in order to get all the way back again. If you heard a door opening open and close, that would be my mom coming in here to grab something, which is why I was silent for a minute. Because if you haven't noticed, I tend to be kind of let's put this. Usually, when people are in the room with me, I tend to be very difficult to bring up the stuff to say. Kind of like I'm acting now, actually. Which is why I tend to do this when both my parents are in bed. But like I said, I'm running low on time here, so I have to use my time wisely. And unfortunately, what with the kind of trouble my family has had these days, this kind of thing is probably going to be happening a lot. And if you're wondering if healing herbs would actually be better to have than normal herbs, they really wouldn't help all that much. They're a lot more expensive too. I think they heal about 30 to 40 BP, but I usually don't let myself get low enough to where they would really be all that beneficial. Because I never like my party members to get lower than 15 BP in case of a surprise attack by 2 magic users. So there's that to consider. I really hate how long this dungeon is. It is really hard to find good stuff to talk about when you're doing the same thing for like an hour. And when I say the same thing, I mean going through the same area for like an hour. At least when I'm going to different areas, I can talk about the progression of the game. And it's not that hard for me to do that, but this game, however, or this dungeon, is just so long and twisted and confusing. I haven't really tested out the new disc that my mom gave me to try out, but I think I'll try it a little bit later, and I'm probably going to record footage when I do that, so I'm probably going to upload that as well. So you're going to be looking forward to that. I don't know what I'll test record. It's probably going to be one of the games that I don't play very often, but I really like. And there's a lot of them, trust me. I'm a fan of a lot of games that are kind of unknown to a lot of gamers, or they might know about them, but they may not necessarily play them. I don't know. I have noticed that when I start talking about the games I grew up with, a lot of them anyway, a lot of people tend to go, "They never heard of that game, what's it like?" And when I keep hearing that about just about every game I own, I tend to get a bit sad and depressed, because I went my whole life thinking these games were like, you know, the best there was, but yet no one heard about these games, and it's so depressing. If I were to wager a guess, I'd say it probably has to do with the fact that... Okay, seriously, why am I not off this floor yet? Why? This is ridiculous. I mean, this isn't even a hard floor. I just keep making these common mistakes. I think it's because I'm trying to pay too much attention to fighting some of these really annoying fights, so I forget about my progress. Hate brutal hits. Very annoying. Now, in Taunt's case right here, I think healing her probably would have been more beneficial, but I don't have any, so I'll just stick with the one herb. Okay, am I finally gonna be able to get off this stupid floor right now? Man. Yeah, I use Edward's magic some, but not very often. You don't really need to worry all that much, though. There are only a couple of groups that are really dangerous, so it's not that big of an issue. The bigger issue is just how long can you survive going through this dungeon. Because I guarantee you, even if you're fighting nothing, but enemy groups that only attack you for weak damage, you'll eventually run out of strength to survive in here. Trust me, it's happened to me before, where I've just been in here so long that all my resources have been completely depleted, so I have no choice but to leave. You know how annoying that is too? Having to be in a dungeon for 2 or 3 hours, and you're forced to just leave and come back? That is the most annoying thing ever. That any dungeon is quite that annoying to complete. I'm sure some people will disagree with me, but those kind of dungeons just need to die. I don't mind a dungeon being a little difficult to traverse, because you do want the player to feel satisfaction for being a dungeon. But it's completely different to have a single dungeon, where you're trapped in there for like 3 or 4 hours. I mean, after all, it is true that some gamers don't really have that much playing time, especially if they have a full-time job. If that's the case, then they're probably only gonna have maybe 1 or 2 hours tops. Maybe 3 if they know to use their time wisely. But in a dungeon like this, it would take just about all of that time to even attempt to try and beat this dungeon. Though, admittedly, if they're that limited on time, they probably just cop out and use a back for the dungeon to quickly beat it. But I'm not going to be doing that. I've already spent so much time in this dungeon as is, so using a fact now would just disappoint me so much that I would have to rely on that. So I'm not going to. If worst comes to worst, I will speed up the footage. Oh, by the way, I need to talk about this. I recently went on the Den and made a topic in the gaming section called the Let's Players Q&A. Let me explain why I actually made this topic in case anyone tries to get snippy about me making something like this. I really don't want my Let's Play topics to... Okay, let me step back for a second. I don't mind people posting stuff on my topic, especially if it has to do with the game itself. Especially if it's a game that people love. People will like say things about how this game is awesome, or how they grew up with this game and they think it's a cool game. Or they could say, like, constructive criticism, like, yeah, I played this game, I'm not a big fan, but you're bringing stuff out about the game that I've never seen before, so it's cool. See, those are the things I don't mind, and they make a lot of sense. What I don't want to see, though, is a whole bunch of, like, and when I say a whole bunch, I mean like 30 posts, just asking different questions about each different episode you post. Mind you, I haven't seen that happen with a lot of the topics here on the Den, but if Let's Players keep posting game footage for different games, I'm sure we're going to run at least one game where a lot of questions are going to be asked. And I don't know about you, but having to scroll through, being a new user, and having to scroll through all these posts and a topic to get to the to different links to the Let's Play would get annoying after a while, especially if it's a very long game and there's a lot of episodes. I've seen this happen in other forums too, and it is so annoying. I think I went on one topic one time, and it had like 300 posts in it, and a lot of those were different questions for each episode. And keep in mind that they also weren't the kind of people that would update the episode on the first post, like Saigen tends to do, and what I'm doing. So that would get a little bit annoying. I think it was a Fall 58 Let's Play I was looking at, and you don't want to know how long it took me to actually find all the episodes I wanted to look at on that thing. It got to where every time I wanted to see a new episode, I had to go through 4 different pages. It was so bad. And again, I know that probably won't happen here on the Den, but just for the sake of simplifying things, I want all the questions to really go into a separate topic. Because I just feel it'd be a lot clearer that way to actually do that than for the questions to be in a whole bunch of different topics. Now, if you have some sort of problem with doing this, then let me know and I'll try to think of something. I'm just trying to make this as convenient as possible. Anyways, on one of my questions on that topic, I asked about whether people would want me to speed up the footage or to just leave it as is so you get the full experience. I haven't really gotten a reply yet, which leads me to one of two conclusions. Either they don't know that I have that question on there yet, or they just don't care to leave a response, which means they don't really have much to say on the matter. So in that case, I'll just have to make the decision. Tongue-tied. I'll have to make the decision myself. So I'll probably have to do that, since I told people I'd wait until the 7th, which today actually is, to make a decision on that. And if no one has any problems with it, I'm probably just going to keep the footage uncut. Well, maybe. Ah, you suck! Hate, paralysis, so freaking much. Okay, Anyway, it depends how long this place is actually going to take. If it takes like a combined time of more than, let's say, 3 hours or more, then going through this whole entire dungeon, then stuff is definitely going to begin to speed up. Because even with me spending an hour or close to it on all these videos, that would still leave me with about 3 episodes of me just meandering through this stupid dungeon. And I don't want to subject people to doing that. That's boring, and it's just ridiculous. I won't cut it, I'll probably speed up the footage, maybe at 2 times speed, so you can at least see what I'm doing. I also thought about taking out the game audio and just adding in my own music to make it more entertaining on that front. Kind of like what Arawn does with his chip grind of Destiny videos, which are freaking awesome, by the way. But we'll see what happens. Just to clarify, I'm not at the dungeon as of this point. To spoil it a little bit, I'm not. I'm nowhere close. I found a chest on the final floor, but it's not the thing I need. So, that sucks. This place wouldn't be near as bad if the thing I needed wasn't necessary to progress the game. Which it is. Kevin actually said that if things get too bad, why don't I just put in a Game Shark and glitch the item in my inventory so I don't have to go through all this crap. As a matter of fact, he actually recommended that for a scene that happens later in the game. And I told him that I probably won't do that because doing something like that is really breaking the game, and I don't want to ever rely on that unless I feel I have to. And that's really something that I would only consider if this place really takes too long. Like, we're talking the 4 to 5 hour mark here. Because I refuse to off-screen my footage. I'll speed it up, but I won't off-screen it. Because, as I've learned from a lot of people, people love to see people actually do stuff in games, whether it's be leveling up, do side quests, go progress through the game, etc., etc. They love being immersed in the experience that the Let's Player is going through. And honestly, if I had known that this entire time, a lot of my Let's Plays probably would have been more like that. Because, to be perfectly honest, off-screening a lot of stuff is more annoying than you would think. So, this actually would make it easier for me. And I believe we have just made it to the bottom floor. Well, everyone, time to watch me fail a lot. Oh look, we're about 40 minutes in, and I'm nowhere close to getting done with this place. Honestly, I can't believe it took me this long to even get down here. The first 5 floors are pretty easy in comparison. Oh jeez, what does that say for my success in the bottom floor? Not a whole lot. Even though this video is going to stop at like an hour, I was actually going through this place for almost twice that long. And I'm not done with it yet. Yeah, that's true. Now, if I recall, there were actually a couple of different ways you could go through this floor. Because I swear, there is technically a way that people have actually gotten both the chests on this floor all at once. But when I usually play, I can only get one at a time, because of the way the floor is made. And I tried for the life of me to open up a path to get them both at once, but I can never pull that off. One thing that sucks about this floor is that the way you get to the bottom through the stairs is very difficult. And oftentimes, when you can go down the stairs to get to the bottom part of the screen, they usually trap you, and you have to go back and push more switches. That's usually what's going to happen to me in this video. Oh man, why does this dungeon have to suck so much? I'll be so glad to get out of this dungeon and progress on. The rest of this game feels so much fun in comparison to this dungeon. I guess in a sense, that would kind of make this place the game's nightmare dungeon. I certainly wouldn't mind calling it that, since it has given me nightmares before. It's ridiculous. Completely, utterly ridiculous. Oh, brother. I'm not 100% sure, but I think those things are weak to Fire Drake. Maybe. Thankfully, they're also pretty slow. Also, the design for those creatures is kind of weird. They're essentially giant, naked women with large blue hair. And from what it looks like, their bottom parts are also part water as well. Which is a pretty strange design if I've ever seen one. Anyway. Yeah, I know, I shouldn't be using Fire Drake on these weak things, but I really didn't want to deal with those things right now. Plus, I figured since I was on the final floor anyway, I could probably abuse a little bit of magic and still be fine. That was a mistake. Then again, this went on for like an hour and 40 minutes, and I was just like, you know, my recording on this can only go for about 2 hours. So, at that point, the recording would have cut me off, so I couldn't stay in there longer than that anyway. So I was being forced to leave just because of the DVD recorder. Classy. Not that that's a big problem. It was already pretty late that morning, and I wanted to just stop. But, what can you do? All I'm probably gonna say is if this place is boring you, which I would imagine it should by now, then just skip the videos until I'm done with it. I wouldn't blame you at all. Just from the titles alone, it's gonna be pretty obvious when I actually get out of here, because I'll be making a big deal out of it, trust me. Yeah, looking at the sylph again, it looks like it has a mermaid's tail at the bottom there. At least that's what I think it is. With the sprite, it's kind of hard to tell. And sylph goes by. We'll see sprite recolors of all those monsters later. And the next sprite recolor of the sylph is kind of freakish looking. Oh, 2 sylphs this time. Great. Yeah. I really don't like to use sylphs on weekend groups, but I really didn't want to take the chance of one of those 2 surviving. Because the sylphs do know when level 2, if I recall. And it hurts. A lot. Ugh. This place gives me a headache. Although I did post a second question, now that I think about it, on the Q&A topic, and someone actually voted for choice B. No, not the worst choice. No, I'll certainly give him that. It's one of my favorites. He's pretty much, I'm not going to spoil who he is, but he's pretty much the speedster of the group, and considering how important speed is in this game, I can't say I don't like him. I wouldn't say he's my first choice, though. There is one character I like more than him, but he's fine. I wouldn't have any problem using him this time around. Plus, the person I would choose comes rather far into the game, and it's hard to really train her very well. If you've played this game, then you probably know who I'm talking about, but I don't really care. She's freaking awesome. He just is. I have never left the Dire Wolves alive long enough for them to really do anything. But all they pretty much do is a standard strong attack. And that's pretty much it. I think they can also call for help, but it's nothing you need to worry about. However, they are one in a long line of wolf enemies that will become very annoying later on. There are all types of wolf-type enemies you face in the game. I can't remember if I showed off the bugbear yet, but it's in this area as well, and it has a above average physical attack, but it's very slow and usually very easy to take out. And much like the wolf, he's in a long line of bear-like enemies. Huh, if I fancy that, I guess they're friends. Why did I use magic when there's only 2 sylphs? No idea. I doubt they'll survive long enough anyway. Despite people complaining about how hard this game is, I've gone through the game without abusing magic a lot of it, and for the most part I haven't had that much trouble with it. And I was actually expecting to have a lot of trouble too. I'm not abusing any tricks or anything. And actually, right now, I'm really questioning just how necessary some of these glitches actually are, since I don't really need them that much. A lot of people that play this game love the glitches and exploits to death because it makes the game a lot easier. But I guess I've proven they're not as necessary as people think. Go me. But I think the biggest problem I'm probably going to have is that later on, equipment is going to be very, very expensive. I have a lot of money now because of how lost I'm getting in here, but that money won't last forever, and when you get later on in the game, you don't get all that much gold compared to now, and the prices for equipment start to get pretty outrageous. So it might come to the point where I just don't upgrade equipment for a little while, because I really just don't like it. I'll upgrade weapons, probably, but I'll probably slouch on the armor upgrades. I think it does come to a point, though, where I won't need to upgrade any helmets for my... no, wait, it's an armor upgrade for my mages. Because, I kid you not, there's this one armor upgrade, when you get far enough into the game, that once you get it, you'll never want to take it off your mages. You'll know it when you see it. I'll make a note about it. Let's see, anything else to talk about? Well, I guess I could say that I've started playing Legend of Legaia, or Legaia again, there we go. The first one, not the second one. The first one, to me, always kind of had a lot larger scope to it than the second one did, and it felt like there was more at stake in the game, too. Not to say the second one didn't have a flowing narrative, and it did succeed at all, it's just, it felt a lot weaker. Like there wasn't as much pushing you throughout the game as in the first one. Then again, I've heard a lot of people say the first one was a masterpiece, so maybe comparing the second one to that isn't exactly fair. And I guess I can understand that. The first one would be very hard to beat, especially since everything in it was just downright perfect. The magic system was perfect, the art system was pretty much perfect, the way you could abuse spirit and unleash a super attack was also pretty brilliant. It was essentially that game's version of a counterattack, since you could defend one turn and gather up your strength and then immediately counter the next turn with an even more powerful attack. Holy crap, that's a lot of ropers. So, overall, the first one was just really great. There are a couple of nitpicks I have about it, though. Like, say, the way you have to refill AP in that game. Sometimes would make you resort to using Spirit when you normally wouldn't want to, just to get AP back a little faster. This isn't a huge issue, but there are times when it kind of gets on your nerves. Though it is worth noting that there are accessories that help with this, but... talking about Legaia 2 for a second, I think that's one thing the game actually did right. Because in that game, normal arts actually would give you AP back. It did not consume AP. And instead, you would get super arts and hyper arts that were stronger, but would actually take AP away. Though, unfortunately, the ability to charge your AP through defending was gone, and replaced with an ability called AP Charge, which you had to get through an accessory. Which, unfortunately, you don't get till close to the end of the game. So that's kind of annoying. Another problem I have with Legaia 2, though, is I just felt it was way too easy. Probably partially due to the new AP system, but also due to the fact that bosses were just pushovers in this game. There was really no boss that I ever fought in the game that I really ever had trouble with, unless I really tried challenging myself. And that really annoyed me, considering I was used to the first Legaia a lot. Another problem I had is the game is just too short. There's a lot of places to visit, but you usually go through them rather quick. And you could probably beat the game in just a couple of days, easy. Partially due to the fact that you don't really need to build up anywhere, and you can rush right through, no problem. It's really a this game really gave me a big problem with trying to stay interested, because there are certain plot twists, I guess, to the game, but they're few and far between. And even when you begin the game, you can kind of imagine what to expect. Like, say, okay, spoiler alert if you haven't played Legaia 2. Arawn you see like right away when you are in the first area, and he shows himself as a really evil dictator-like character, and you pretty much know that he's going to be the main antagonist, or you at least suspect it. And you don't go that far into the game before you actually find out he is the evil bad guy, and you have to stop him. And it's not much farther before you figure out what the goal of the villain is. And it's not much farther after that you actually fight the final boss. So, yeah, that's... I guess I could say there's a minor build-up, but there's not near enough of it. They really should have spread out the storyline a bit more, because the storyline segments come at you pretty fast, and you weren't given much time to react to it, so that's fairly annoying. Let's see, about 4 minutes left. I guess I gotta wrap this up then. Oh, one thing I also have to nitpick about is the music selection for Legaia 2. If you've played Legaia 1, you'll notice right away a lot of songs from Legaia 1 are reused again in Legaia 2, just lightly remixed to sound a little better. But they're essentially the same songs, and more than half of the soundtrack are actually reused music. Kind of dumb. Especially since the musician for Legaia 2 is actually pretty good. I believe he's the same guy that worked on Final Fantasy Tactics? I'm not 100% sure about that, so don't get mad if I'm wrong. But I know he's skilled, at least. So that was kind of depressing. Though that may have been an executive decision, maybe? I don't know. So close, yet so far at getting those stupid chests. Oh well, what can you do? But get pissed off at the game. Because I know I did, several times, trying to get to those stupid chests. It's like it's taunting me down there. But yeah, Legaia 2, an okay game, but it could have been a lot better. Legaia 1, freaking awesome game. If you haven't played it, then I really recommend it. Probably one of the best RPGs on PS1, definitely. I don't really have time to start any more discussions, so I'm pretty much going to end this episode with I hate this dungeon so much. Yeah. It's really boring. So boring. Oh my goodness. Is this boring? Oh, I learned Titan level 1. Awesome. Well, that's a great way to end it. Titan level 1. Ooh, I learned Ice level 2 as well. Titan level 1 is the second level elemental spirit he can summon. And it's Earth elemental, as you might expect. It's also a little bit stronger, but less enemies are actually weak to it. So it's kind of a double-edged sword with that one. Also, here's an interesting tidbit. Titan is actually Todd's favorite spell, as you'll see in the ending. That may have been a spoiler, but it's not that big of a deal. But it is interesting, to say the least. I would not think Titan would be his favorite. Oh well. Man, I'm rich. guess I'll see you guys later when I attempt once again to try and take out this dungeon. See you guys later.